Welcome to Deep Dive and welcome to December, the month where we head towards celebrating the birth of Jesus here at Christmas. My name is John and today we're beginning a little series across this month focused on Christmas, looking at the promises made in Isaiah about the birth of Jesus, which is based off our sermon series that is happening this month. We'll be exploring different promises that God made through his prophet Isaiah, all which point to the hope and joy that we celebrate at Christmas, the arrival of this baby Jesus Christ. Today, I want to begin with Isaiah 7, verse 14. It says, "The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son and will call him Immanuel." Immanuel means God with us, and it's a truth that speaks to us not just at Christmas time, but also, or should speak to us, I should say, every day of the year. So where can we start here? What's this promise perhaps mean for us today? Well, let's start with a little bit of context. Isaiah 7:14 is set during a time of crisis. Judah, led by a young king Ahaz, is under threat. The surrounding nations have allied together to attack Jerusalem, and the hearts of Ahaz, this king, and his people are described as shaking like trees in the wind. Now, this is ancient history, but it's also a scene perhaps that we can relate to. Crisis comes for us in many forms: health scares, job losses, fractured relationships, global challenges like wars and economic instability. Even the busyness of Christmas can sometimes feel like a crisis, if we're honest, particularly if there's tension within our families or those we might be going to have lunch with. But I'm not sure if you've ever been in a bad storm. Perhaps the wind is blowing hard and it feels like the roof is going to come off the house, or perhaps the power has gone out at home as well, and it feels a little worrying. There's a little fear perhaps that pops up in us, particularly if we're young or have children in the home, but and even more so if we have large trees surrounding the property. Well, this kind of fear is what Ahaz and his people are facing. It's a kind of fear that we experience when there are storms around us, whatever metaphorical storms or physical storms that seem to be crashing in. And so it's into this fear that God speaks through Isaiah, saying, "Be careful, keep calm, don't be afraid," he tells Ahaz. He also then goes on to ask Ahaz to trust him and even offers a sign to prove his faithfulness to Ahaz. But Ahaz refuses. He doesn't want to really, what's the word? I'm still trying to come up with the word. He doesn't want to beg God. He instead, not out of humility, comes to God, but is really saying, I don't actually trust you, so I'm not going to ask for a sign myself. And he shows that he's not someone who is trusting God or having faith in God. He's not someone who wants to even come to God. He just instead wants to go about it in his own way, in his own self-sufficiency. If we think about trust for a moment, it's like when we're learning to swim as a child. We stand at the edge of the pool. Our parents are there, stretched out with their arms, saying, "Come on, jump, I'll catch you. But everything there on the sidelines as we look to jump into this water, this deep pool, we wonder, what if they move? What if I sink? What if I can't swim well? What if they don't catch me? But then when we take the leap, we discover that there's trust there all along. Ahaz refuses to jump. He doesn't trust God, and yet God doesn't abandon him. Instead, he gave a sign anyway, a sign that points far beyond Ahaz's time to the ultimate fulfillment that we see in the birth of Jesus and his life and ministry among us. And so this promise of Immanuel, that God is with us, that is the meaning of the word Immanuel, is a key teaching, a key understanding, a key doctrine for us in our Christian faith. It's something that we are to hold on to. For Ahaz and Judah, it was a reassurance that God had not abandoned them. For us, it's the reality of Jesus stepping into our world. As a parent, I often have to kneel down in front of my kids to tie their shoes or give them a hug or speak to them gently. This is what God does in Jesus. He doesn't stay distant from us. Instead, he comes to us. He comes to our world. He takes on our humanity and he walks alongside us. In Matthew chapter 1, verses 22 to 23, Matthew, the gospel writer, ties Isaiah's prophecy and promise here to Jesus, saying, now all this took place to fulfill what was spoken by the Lord through the prophet. See, the virgin will become pregnant and give birth to a son, and they will name him Immanuel, which is translated, God with us. Through Jesus, we see the lengths that God goes to be with us, not just in a spiritual sense, but physically, tangibly, in a way we can see and hear and touch, in a way that he came physically here on earth. It's also not just a Christmas story, is it? It's actually a story for every season. When we're sitting in traffic, when we're overwhelmed with our to-do list, whether we're navigating a tough conversation with a friend or a family member, the promise of God being with us means we're not alone. We're not isolated. We're not distant. He's there in the ordinary and the not so ordinary, in the joys and in the hardships. On a clear night, we can see thousands of stars in the skies, can't we? And that light travels numerous distance, some phenomenal distance, to reach us here so that we can see their shining stars. But there's that one star, the sun, that's close enough to us to warm our skin, to grow our food, to light our days. In a similar way, God doesn't just leave us with distant signs of his existence. Instead, he came near, like the sun breaking through the coldness, breaking through the darkness to shine his light on us and to be with us. Isaiah chapter 7 verse 14 is a promise that God is not distanced from us. God is not detached from us, but he is Immanuel, God with us. And so because of this, we can trust, can't we? We can firstly trust. Like Ahaz, we may fear moments, or we may face moments of fear and uncertainty, but instead of relying on our own strength, we're invited to trust in God who is with us. Of course, we celebrate this Christmas. We maybe take the time to reflect of the wonder that it is that God is with us, that God has come down into our world. I wonder whether you can make space to celebrate that understanding, that truth, that God is with us this month. And then we can also be present with people, can't we? We can trust, we can celebrate, but we can also be present and we can be the light of Christ to others this Christmas. A kind word, a helping hand, something even like a reminder to someone that we are praying for them. All shows God's love to others and shows that God is with us and amongst us in our ordinary lives. So may you know that God is with you today, and may that be something that you know and hold on to this Christmas. Thank you for diving deep with me today, and if you're enjoying these conversations or these podcasts, I would love you to subscribe or even just share with a friend. There's been some great feedback from them, and I really appreciate those who are listening. Otherwise, I shall talk to you next time. Thanks for being with us. Bye for now.